Knightfall is the first Batman story to last for a whole year. It began in 1993 and ended in 1994, creating some of the most iconic moments and characters in the Batman mythos. Knightfall was all about the breaking of Bruce Wayne at the hands of Bane and Azrael becoming the new Batman. Then came Knightquest, which explored Azrael's time as Batman. The last chapter of the trilogy is KnightsEnd, and it features the return of Bruce Wayne to reclaim the mantle of the Bat. At least, that was the original plan. According to Denny O'Neil, the original idea for Knightfall was to have Bruce Wayne completely off stage for a whole year, meaning that he was going to disappear entirely from the DC universe. The idea was to convince people that they were really not going to bring Bruce Wayne back. Unfortunately, this couldn't happen. Denny O'Neil explained that a Time Warner executive told me that I couldn't have Bruce Wayne off stage for that long. I was told I couldn't do it. Because of this, Denny O'Neil came up with a separate section for Knightquest, one that would focus exclusively on the journey of Bruce Wayne. The Azrael Knightquest was called The Crusade, and the Bruce Wayne Knightquest was named The Search. At first glimpse, the search seems to be a reference to the task of Bruce Wayne of finding Chandra King Solving and Jack Drake. He embarks on a journey that takes him across the world to search for two innocents who were kidnapped back in Gotham. However, the search has a deeper meaning, as it is actually referring to Bruce Wayne's mission to rediscover his heroic qualities. In this small chapter, Bruce has to figure out who he really is beyond the Batsuit. Who he really is without Batman. This is the journey that helps Bruce recover the confidence and determination that he lost in Knightfall, and it's thanks to this journey that he realizes that Bruce Wayne is just as much a hero as Batman. Even though he doesn't have the cape and cowl, even though he can't walk, Bruce Wayne is still a protector, looking out for the safety of innocents. The search makes it clear that the costume doesn't make the hero. In the search, Bruce Wayne proves to be much more heroic while he is disabled than Jean-Paul with all his armor and weapons. By the end of the search, Bruce saves Jack Drake and finds Chandra King Solving, who is able to heal Bruce's broken back, but in doing so, her mind is permanently blocked in a childlike state. Although the search ends with Bruce Wayne fully recovered, his determination to push himself beyond the limits of his broken body caused Alfred to resign. The faithful butler couldn't be part of Bruce's self-destruction, and when Bruce decided to ignore the doctor's warnings about his condition, Alfred had no other choice than to quit. And so a fully recovered Bruce Wayne returns to Gotham, but this time without Alfred. The journey has taught Bruce much about himself, and he even considers living a normal life from now on. That is, until he learns everything that's happened in Gotham during his absence. When Bruce learns that Jean-Paul has gone over the edge, he tries to take back the mantle of the Bat, but Azbats will not give it away. After months of recovery, Bruce Wayne is in no shape to fight, and if Azbats is going to be stopped, Bruce has to train very hard to regain his lost abilities. This is the beginning of KnightsEnd, the final chapter in the Knightfall trilogy. Bruce goes on to train with Lady Shiva in order to prepare himself for the battle against Azbats. Shiva trains Bruce until he recovers his capacity for violence, and she puts him through a series of challenges. Bruce overcomes each and every challenge, making great progress, relearning everything that he forgot. Shiva's training had a catch though. She wanted to turn Bruce into a killer, as only then he would be ready. However, Bruce manages to fool Shiva into thinking that he actually killed, when in reality he didn't do it. Fooling Lady Shiva is not an easy task that anyone can do, and this just proves that Bruce Wayne's skills are completely back. In the meantime, Jean-Paul becomes even more dangerous and deranged. His visions have turned against him, tormenting him day and night, and he also becomes obsessed with the idea of finding Leah, the man who killed his father. He spreads chaos and destruction across Gotham, attacking criminals and innocents in order to accomplish his mission. Bruce realizes how serious the situation is, and that's why he asks for help from Robin and Nightwing, in what proves to be a major character development. In the beginning of Knightfall, Bruce thought he could stop crime all by himself. He would constantly refuse help from Robin and worked alone against the multiple criminals that showed up in Gotham. That's why he was broken by Bane, and it's a lesson that Bruce has finally learned. Knightfall is a story about growth, a story that shows us that Batman learns from his mistakes. That's why here he asks Robin and Nightwing for help, reuniting the Bat family. At last. When Bruce Wayne is finally ready, he puts on the Batsuit for the first time since he was broken, and somewhere in Blackgate Prison, Bane knows that the Bat is back. Bruce has regained his identity as Batman, and the next step is to reclaim the mantle of the Bat. Bruce finds and challenges Azbats, and the confrontation begins. Bruce tries to reason with Jean-Paul, but the man won't listen. The physical encounter is brutal, but Bruce is more smart, resourceful, and analytical than Jean-Paul. While Azbats uses his entire arsenal, Batman doesn't use a single gadget, proving that Bruce Wayne is a superior fighter. The confrontation eventually stops as Batman gets distracted saving innocents, and he apparently dies in an explosion. Azbats was also consumed by fire, but it only turned his armor red. A furious Nightwing attacks Jean-Paul, but Dick Grayson is no match for the system. When Jean-Paul returns to the cave, he finds that Batman is waiting for him in Wayne Manor, and this is the climax of the story, the final confrontation for the mantle of the Bat. However, there is no confrontation. Batman realizes that the enemy is afraid and confused, and instead of attacking him, he tries to help him. Jean-Paul goes back and hides in the Batcave, but Bruce gets inside through the same hole he fell when he was a kid. Bruce tries to talk to Jean-Paul, but it's useless. He will not let go of his identity as Batman, because without it, Jean-Paul Valley is nothing. Azbats attacks Bruce, trying desperately to keep his identity, convinced that he is the one true Batman. Eventually, Bruce figures out that all he needs is to take away the costume from Jean-Paul. That is the only way to make him see the truth, and Batman goes back inside the tunnel, making Azbats follow him. Azbats has to remove his armor to fit in, and once he has removed almost everything, Batman forces him to take off his helmet by making him see the light of day. Only when the helmet is off, Jean-Paul finally admits that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he is nobody, a man without an identity. This is a perfect ending. Bruce Wayne has beaten the symbol of violence without using violence at all. This turn of events is quite poetic. The showdown happens in the same place and in the same pattern as the fight of Bane versus Batman. It starts in Wayne Manor and descends into the Batcave. The last moment is also reminiscent of the ending of Sword of Azrael, when Jean-Paul removes the helmet of Azrael and finally remembers his real name, his real identity. In Sword of Azrael, Jean-Paul saved Bruce, and in KnightsEnd, Batman returns the favor by saving Jean-Paul from self-destruction. Bruce is partially responsible for giving Jean-Paul the mantle of the Bat, a big mistake on Bruce's part, but now it's all over, and Bruce has learned much from this experience. Perhaps the most important lesson is that Bruce Wayne is just as real and important as Batman. Knightfall is, in my opinion, the greatest storytelling experiment in the Batman history. It shows us why Batman is so enduring and successful, and it does it in the best way possible, by telling a very compelling and entertaining story. Knightfall is a celebration of what makes Batman great, the best story to understand the real identity and character of Batman, and that's why it's always considered one of the best Batman stories of all time. Now, this video marks the ending of my Knightfall review series, and I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Knightfall worked to make the characters in the Batman mythos grow, and I feel like it has also helped me grow as a creator. After spending 4 months in this series, I want to take a step back and reevaluate the way I create videos. Right now I'm gonna take a short break from the main timeline of Batman comics, and I will make some videos that I wanted to make for a long time. After that, who knows? Only time can tell. I can only hope that you all join me in this new chapter, because I can promise you, it's gonna be fun. Until the next one, and as always, thank you so much for watching.